researcher.
It's a horror.
Is a horror. Yeah.
The 6/6 boar for 6.
That is a horror.
It's a boar
Swine.
horror.
Was it boar horror?
I think it might be boar horror.
Yeah, because because I think it's like the actual name is something swine.
Yeah.
And it's a boar horror.
Kessing swine.
Kessing swine.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But it's a boar horror.
Yeah. But I mean, I'd be shocked if that's what we get on camera.
I would be very happy.
Because
you know if they're catching that, it's got to be delirious, right? That's the point.
Yeah, it's got to be out of control even.
It's got to be, exactly.
Let's see. Gatherer. I mean, now my interest is peaked. I'm sure people have actually looked this up, and I'm just kind of behind. But
what about like Friction Obliterator? That's a horror, right?
It is a horror. That's true. Let's see. Types.
Difficult to cast.
Text. How are we going to do this?
All right, here we go. Grixis Hero on the left for Giovanny Gonzalez, and Living End for Felipe Gomez-Fritelli.
Yeah. And this is, I think this is Felipe's, like, third or fourth, like, modern tournament. So he doesn't have a lot of reps with the deck, but it is Living End, so.
Yeah, it looks like he's 2-0 so far, so things are going fine.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we're going to get two competitors whose combined names are longer than these two?
I mean, you'd be hard pressed.
Giovanni Gonzalez, Felipe Gomez-Fritelli. I think it'd be tough.
This is triple G's. Like, actually, all their names, it's like GGFGF.
Yeah, these names are like average 6 to 8 letters. At least in Gio's case. Felipe a little less, but he's got 3 of them. So
he's got 3 of them. Yeah,
so he's making up for it.
Not overcompensating, but just the right amount.
Exactly.
All right, so what does he lead? Okay, so
Carabid. Looks like he's gonna main phase.
This Carabid.
Main phase is Carabid. I'm not sure what the point of main phasing it is.
Kind of gives it away too much. I feel like maybe you would want to have done it on Gio's end step, if only because like you make him force him to play a spell. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Because then if you can Simian Spirit Guide and go off the next turn, even with 2 creatures, that's like reasonable.
Granted, I imagine Gio does know what he's playing, so there's going to be no surprise that he's going to cycle something on turn 1 most turns.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's see.
We'll see. I think I see Street Wraith in Felipe's hand, as well as Violent Outburst. I think I got a glimpse of, as well as Deadshot Minotaur.
Yeah, so he's got enough ways to string the combo, but okay. So Gio does tap out on turn 2.
It's got to be Jace Vryn's Prodigy, right?
Yeah, that is definitely tapping out on turn 2 here.
It's fine. It's really
okay,
hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard for them to put enough creatures in the board to turn 2 Living End and be worth it.
Yeah, be worth it. But here's the thing: like if he did have, let's just say he had 2 Street Wraiths, that is an incredibly fast clock. He has a Watery Grave in play.
Yeah.
So this is like people often forget that that's also the text on Street Wraith, that it has Swamp Walk. But that actually came in handy in Philippe's last match. Is he killed his opponent with a Street Wraith because he had a Godless Shrine.
Yeah.
And that's how he won.
That definitely comes up. So yeah, Felipe has no shortage of Cascade spells, but it looks like he only has 1 more Cycler in his hand, and that's the Deadshot Minotaur he's brought to the front. He cannot cycle that off of the Swamp he currently has in play.
No.
Other than that, he has a Living End hard copy in his hand, which is not where you want the card.
That's definitely not going to do anything for him.
A Fulminator Mage and a Beast Within.
What is... Oh, Gio decided he wants a different land. Okay, fair enough.
Fetching around the Fulminator Mage that he's expecting.
Yeah, I mean, at this point you got to be, right? Like, he cycled 3 creatures.
Yeah, maybe he wants to flip this Jace. Maybe he's just putting another land, going to play another spell, and then try to flip the Jace.
Yeah.
Oh, he has an Inquisition. He could double Inquisition this turn.
That might be kind of crazy.
I think that seems like...
That seems like big game.
Seems pretty strong.
Yeah.
And not
he takes the 2 enablers out, right? Yeah.
And not only that, he takes the creature off the table for this Demonic Dread. He's got 2 of them. Without a creature in play, Demonic Dread is not castable.
That's true, yeah.
So I think if he's going to double Inquisition, the first one probably... It's tough between Beast Within and Fulminator Mage.
Yeah, it is.
But the second one's got to take Violent Outburst.
Mm-hmm. I actually don't mind taking... Oh, yeah, okay, so for sure Violent Outburst is getting taken here.
Yeah,
but
that's got it. I think that's the no-brainer.
But
if he does it again...
I'm not convinced that you're supposed to take the Fulminator Mage. Because he's like, Felipe's already bricking on land.
Mm-hmm.
So he needs to hit a land off the draw step, and if he cycles, he can't cast the Fulminator Mage anyways.
So what would you take, Beast Within?
Yeah, I would take Beast Within.
Just to protect the Jace?
Because it can get your Jace, exactly.
Yeah. That's fair.
The only reasonable, like, I guess, defense is that, well, Beast Within does require green, of which Felipe has none, and any land off the top that's untapped will cast this Fulminator Mage, so maybe that's, like, a consideration. But I think the Beast Within actually has more application. Just getting that Planeswalker off the table would be kind of bad, especially, like, now you can start taking up, and there's no pressure on the board, and he's taking away enablers. Like, that's like really good for Gio.
I think it also kind of depends on what exactly Gio has in his hand in terms of mana. If he has no more lands, this Fulminator Mage could take him off of blue potentially.
That's also true.
And that's might be a reason to. Well, it looks like he's just run Basic Island, so
Well,
that'll eliminate that problem right there.
There we go.
Yeah, those are here to stay. Oh, but
Oh,
he's not interested in Basic Island. He says, "Get out of here, Basic Island."
I think this says he's gonna take the Fulminator Mage, right?
it
like,
could.
if you discard Basic Island after
Yeah.
seeing Fulminator Mage, that's gotta be the play.
Yeah, and this Inquisition will be exiled if he is indeed flashing it back. Felipe this time just not laying it out because expects Geo to have his decision in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Inquisition cannot take Deadshot Minotaur. Could take Living
You
End.
could take that, but I don't know what you're doing.
No,
I mean,
I think if Geo's deck plays any sort of counter spells, he can easily set up to counter that at some point.
yeah.
It has to spend 3, so Felipe would have to get to 4 mana to put it on suspend, and then wait 3 turns for it to do anything.
He takes the Demonic Dread.
Maybe he has another hand disruption spell in hand. That's the only thing I can think of.
He does have a Watery Grave.
Yeah.
Wait, did he play his land already this turn? Was
yeah,
it Swamp?
he did. He was on the play.
Yeah, it was Swamp. That's right.
So
That's
Felipe can go for Fulminator Mage here. I think that's
a
pretty
swamp.
good play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually really like Fulminator Mage here.
And I would,
Yeah, I would have taken it.
I would probably
Like if you're not like it was definitely between the two anyways, right? Like Beast Within
Yeah.
and Fulminator.
I'm not sure if I would crack it though. The reason being is you have Demonic Dread as your last card,
Mm-hmm.
and you need a target.
Yeah. And there's enough guys in the bin where that's entirely worth it.
Yeah, exactly. So it looks like Geo has a Tasker in hand, but he can't deploy that, right? He can't reliably. If he does that, then he's just going to get Demonic Dreaded, and Felipe is going to get his
Yeah.
graveyard back.
I mean, I think you're absolutely right. Isn't there a play where you can Demonic Dread your Fulminator Mage in response, sack it?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, right,
You
yeah.
just need to be able to cast it.
Yeah, that's
it doesn't have to.
Because the Cascade will go off even if the Demonic Dread is countered, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cascade is
trigger
not
ability.
connected to the spell resolving.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been very good. So we're cycling here. We have 2 lands now from Felipe. So
And he's drawn
yeah,
a third.
it seems like that Fulminator Mage has actually come back and bite him in the butt.
I mean, it depends though, because taking Geo off of blue, Geo top decked the Drowned
That's
Catacomb.
true. That's true. I mean,
And
after pitching an island, like
after pitching Basic Island, I'm suspicious of that.
that's why I thought the Fulminator Mage should have been the
Yeah.
take. But I've seen stranger things, I suppose.
So he's
So
got
what are we
Spell
looking at
Snare in
here?
hand, which is completely dead.
Basically dead, right?
No, it's
yeah.
completely.
Oh, that's true.
There's
Yeah.
literally
Everything.
He can counter his own spells.
So if he has another land, he can cast this Kalidas, which I don't remember the clause specifically, but if he's
Doesn't
cycling,
do
it doesn't do anything, right? Okay.
No, it's Anafen's of the Foremost is if it would
From
be put in
anywhere.
from anywhere.
Okay.
Kalidas is if a non-token would die.
Oh, it's from okay.
So Geo's in a pretty bad spot here. If a creature can somehow be put into play, and this Beast Within is going to hit the Jace and resolve, maybe it's going after the Drowned Catacomb, but I can't imagine that's the play. Well, then again,
No, it could be.
it very well could be.
Yeah.
The Jace is actually worth not that much right now.
No, not
if
against.
Geo is savvy, he will terminate his Beast right now. Okay, well,
Nope.
looks like he's
Not-
going to get to Demonic Dread.
Not savvy.
Not savvy. Because if he had terminated the Beast before Felipe gets to untap,
Yeah,
Demonic Dread is dead again.
is dead again. Yeah.
This play isn't just about blowing up the land. It's about. Oh, do you know what Felipe could have done? He could have blown up a basic, expecting the Fulminator Mage to come back,
Anyways,
and
yeah.
then blown up the Drowned Catacomb.
Mhm.
But I think
Maybe
here,
he's just trying to take him off like Monolith or Remand.
yeah, I
though.
think that's the
Yeah.
thing. He's being safe about it. He really wants us to resolve. He's just making sure that blue source is not in play when he goes
Yeah.
for it.
Absolutely. This is the part I hate the most about the deck is actually just finding the stupid living end.
That's why you got to play it online. It
it
does it for you.
does it for you. But I mean, obviously, Geo getting a good look at everything. No surprises.
Ooh, one card backwards.
Hey.
Judge.
There's the living end. Okay, cast it. A bunch of those resolve. Yeah, so Geo's gonna just see what his Doom looks like in the upcoming matches.
I wonder if most of these versions play 3 living ends. We know Felipe has 1 in hand. He's has one on the stack now.
Mhm.
His last copy's got to be in his last 3
Yeah,
cards.
it is. So
he had 2 in the bottom
but he has a violent
6
outburst
cards.
in hand, so
Yeah,
and that's an instant, I believe.
Violent Outburst instant.
Yeah, so he can if he wanted to. I don't think it's gonna come up, but I'm just saying if he wanted to.
No, but it's funny because he could draw the second living end very easily. He's got 2 cards in library,
Mm-hmm.
and if he draws the second living end, he can't cascade into them anymore. They're just shut off.
It's true.
You gotta have him in your library.
Yeah.
Geo, maybe gonna scoop things up here.
Yeah, just to kind of save time.
But we'll see. He definitely wants to know the contents of Felipe's deck if he's not currently aware.
We don't have.
So living it on the stack. Nothing Geo can really do. He does have 2 terminates, so it depends how many creatures exactly Felipe brings back, but there is a world where a couple terminates can buy enough time to maybe stabilize this board. Alright, let's get to the living end. It is resolving. Creatures are coming back. 2 fulminators. Deadshot Minotaur ×2.
This
Street
is
Wraith.
this is not a terrible board. This is a, I mean that's usually how they are after living in, aren't they?
Yeah.
Doesn't there's an ETB on Deadshot, isn't there? Doesn't
It
hit
deals
flyers?
3 damage to a creature with flying.
Yeah,
So, not relevant.
it's the Carabid because it's the highest power.
Yep. It's the biggest creature on board.
Yeah, those are 3/3s. That's a 3/4, and that's a 2/2.
Now
yeah.
Geo can play Tasigur, though, and Tasigur blocks all of these creatures reasonably well, except the Street Wraith because of Swamp Walk.
Mm-hmm.
And Geo's going to go ahead and flashback Terminate right now. Probably going to go after the Street Wraith, would be my guess. Yeah.
Yeah, save himself the most amount of damage.
And he might actually absorb a hit from Fulminator this turn, too, to pick off the Jace. So let's see what Felipe decides to do. I imagine you get Jace off the table, because if you don't, that's worth 2 less damage every turn from now on.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, you throw a 2 damage away here, but it's the same thing next turn.
Right.
Coming in for 6, Jace down. But once again, Geo has Tasigur. He's going to go to 10 here. Tasigur stabilizes this.
It does, but I don't know if Felipe drew the 3rd living end, but he still has Violent Outburst. So
Yeah, but it's
he
not
has
good here. He can't. He's wrathing his own creatures away right now.
That's true.
Geo's opting to just remove a Deadshot instead of going with Tasigur. I like this play a lot less, just because Violent Outburst and other Cascade spells. We see Felipe has 2 in hand, actually. He has Demonic Dread and Violent Outburst.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't Violent Outburst give your creatures +1/+0?
It does.
As well?
So maybe he's considering casting it to get a little bit more damage in next turn, but
Yeah, that looks like what's happening.
no, he's just going to Violent Outburst end of turn here. So I think he's done the math. He thinks he's got enough power in his graveyard. He's just going to go ahead and Violent Outburst now and
Yep.
return all the creatures that Geo terminated.
Yep.
Geo would get a Jace back, but that would not be long for this world.
No, it that actually does nothing.
No, it blocks, but it
Not,
wouldn't have...
not particularly well. Let's see what we got in the sideboards though. So, Geo's deck. Let's see. We got 1 Keranos, Vandal Blast, a Counterflux, 2 Negate, 2 Ashiok, 2 Dragon's Claw, 3 Fulminator Mage, 2 Pyroclasm, and a Damnation. Now, I actually don't mind Ashiok coming into this matchup.
Ashiok's great. She's a threat that does not get swept away with
Mhm.
the living end, and
And
it doesn't mill, it exiles.
Exiles.
So
Yeah,
it doesn't
so
enable
it's actually very
Felipe's deck.
strong. And I don't know, maybe Negate. I don't really even like counter spells necessarily in this, but you do
think
need
you
it
have
for the
to.
living end. Yeah.
Yeah,
You need it for
the problem
living
is the Grixis color combination doesn't have any great ways to interrupt graveyards.
end. Yeah, it doesn't, except for Leyline. of
It's
the
got
Void.
Leyline.
Yeah.
There's like Surgical, but Surgical's not particularly good against living end.
No, it's not. Because I mean, even the fact that you can go off on instant speed, like.
Yeah, and you get one thing. Like
Yeah.
it's not Leyline, and so you need something. I wouldn't be surprised to see Negate, Counterflux, even Damnation, just because
I
it
actually
does
like- I was
clean
gonna
it
say.
up if it does happen to resolve.
Yeah, I do like Damnation a little. I think he has one in the main. Oh no, he doesn't.
I see one in the board.
Yeah, it's just the one in the board. I mean, I don't even know what his creature suite would change to. I know he's not playing that because I kind of berated him a little bit. I told him not to play the Grave Titan anymore, but it actually would have been
Grave
kind
Titan?
of. Yeah, he had Grave Titan.
Does he have ways? He has looters, right?
No, he has
if
Jace.
If he just
That's what I'm
Jaces
saying.
away a Grave Titan,
So
comes
in,
back with living
in
end.
this particular tournament, jokes on me, it would have been good.
I
Because
mean,
he would have
perhaps.
pitched his, maybe. He pitches his Grave
Yeah.
Titan and living end like a.
Does he have any other like loot kind of effects or anything? Any way like Thought Scour?
No, he has. I don't think Rizefall does that. No, he doesn't really actually have anything else. So
Tasigur kind of.
there's
but
like no. Yeah, Tasigur
you're already
kind
winning
of.
if you're like activating Tasigur.
That's true.
most games.
So I think that's kind of like the only things I would bring it. I would take out the spell
Counterspells,
snares for
Damnation.
sure. Like super bad here.
Yeah,
Maybe the Colligon's commands.
not great.
Yeah, maybe the Colligon's commands. But
Yeah,
anyways, what does Felipe have?
So obviously he has to play cards with CMC 3 or more, so he's a little bit restricted on the type of sideboard cards he can have. The cards he does have: 2 Damping Matrix, 3 Brindlebore, 4 Ingot Chewer, 3 Ricochet Trap, 3 Fairy Macabre. So Damping Matrix, I don't think it comes in. It stops activated abilities, so it would
Yeah.
stop Tasigur, it would stop Jace.
Would stop Snapcaster Mage. I believe that we have Snapcaster Mage.
Doesn't stop. Well, Snapcaster's not an activated ability. It
Oh, I'm sorry,
wouldn't stop
sorry.
Snapcaster.
Yeah.
But the problem is it would stop his own Fulminator Mage, which I think are pretty good in the matchup.
Yeah, they're exceptional.
Yeah,
probably.
so I think Dampening Matrix does not come in. Brindlebore, no. Ingot Chewer, no. Ricochet Trap, I think, is definitely coming in
Yeah.
to fight the counter magic that Geo's going to
100%.
bring to the table.
Yeah.
Fairy Macabre?
I like Fairy Macabre enough. The reason being, it gets like it counters Snapcasters, and it also kind of hits the Jace a little bit.
It hits the Jace a little bit.
Yeah.
And Fairy Macabre, being just a way to discard card for free.
For free, yeah.
It doesn't cycle, but it is another creature you can put into play after you living end.
And there's also an argument like I don't think Felipe saw the Tasker.
No.
But let's say he puts him on like Tasker or even on Murderous Cut, like just exiling random cards out of the bin like makes it harder to cast those cards, right? So if he's straining him on mana with Fulminator Mages, then he can start like Fairy Macabre some stuff out of the bin too, and it makes like those delve spells that would normally be reasonable really hard to cast.
Sure, I think that's kind of incidental value, but I think
Yeah, it's incidental.
Yeah, mainly if Geo is savvy and starts looting with Jason, puts like a Tassiger in the bin, knowing that it'll come back if
Yeah,
he ever combos.
that's true. If he tries,
That's
if
something
Geo
good
tries to
to-
get cute, the Macabres actually punish him.
Exactly.
So
And like you said, Fizzle's a Snapcaster, Fizzle's a Jace tick down.
Fizzling Snapcaster is probably the big one because counter spells are actually fairly good against Living End. But
Yeah.
you only need to counter Living End.
Mhm.
Like everything else in the deck is pretty manageable. Except for Fulminator Mages are always a threat. Basically no matter what.
Very
But
true. And
other
sometimes
than
Beast
that-
Within can.
Yeah, it can kind of ruin your
Sometimes
day.
Beast Within can ruin your
But
day.
I like
exactly.
Beast Within because it's so threatening. It's such a great way to bait out counter magic.
Yeah, and sometimes they just have to like if you're on the play and you're at the end of their turn 3 and you're about to untap and go to turn 4, you can Beast Within their blue source and they're not going to have
Yeah, they're not gonna have one
a way
for
to
your
cast
turn.
it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's just big game. Like a reasonable. It'd just be a reasonable turn of events for the Living End player, and I'm sure Felipe has that in mind. Like that's why Living End's in the deck, right? Like that's kind of one of the issues. Is like it forces your opponent to have a reaction because otherwise you will just Living End them.
Yeah, and Wrath plus put a 10 plus power in play.
Yeah,
It's going to win a lot of games.
so
Of
it really does.
Magic.
It literally is just a Vindicate after Living End, right?
Yeah. All right, so I imagine Geo's going to take the play here, and they're going to draw their opening 7s.
Do you? So I had a question. Do you like keeping lightning bolts in?
So I think they probably can't trim them all,
No.
and they kind of provide a clock. I don't think you can't control the board. Terminates 1-for-1 removal is not good against
Actually,
living
it's
ends.
really bad. Yeah.
So the lightning bolts would predominantly be to clock them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be more inclined to maybe take out a Terminator or 2 first before I
Yeah.
trim the bolts. But like you said, Kolgun's Command is probably the weakest of all of these cards.
Because it also costs the most. Like
Costs
you
the
don't-
most.
you
It
don't have a lot of
shocks
time.
them. Making living end discard cards is not particularly appealing.
No.
You
it
know.
just helps them, right? So
Exactly.
So
And sometimes these decks even have Leyline of Sanctity, in which case Kolgun's Command is just like almost blank.
Yeah, it's basically blank. I mean, if he's thinking that like maybe he can get to like recycle some of his value creatures, I don't think that's like. I think that is a game plan that's too grindy against a deck that's just trying to kill you in one turn.
You're trying to, exactly. You're trying to grind a combo deck. That's not the matchup for Kolgun's
exactly.
Command at all.
So we wouldn't want Call Guns Command at all here.
Yeah.
So Call Guns Command would come out, and I think you're right. Terminates because like the 1-for-1 removal is the actual pits. Like it's probably not anywhere near where you want to be in this matchup. I think the counter magic is great. The Ashiok is great. But it looks like we do have a few lightning bolts in hand for Geo, and I think a Mono League and and
Serum
some
Visions
lands.
I saw.
Yeah, Serum Vision. So I think this is a reasonable keep. I think it's only 2 lands, but you know what? I think we'll take it.
Well, looks like a 6 up from Felipe, but it has some lands, has some cyclers. I imagine this is
think
just
it
a
has
snap keep.
2 Sniklers and lands. Yeah, seems good.
2 lands, Seeming Spirit Guide, and hard copy of Living End, which not great, but
I mean that's 2 games in a row. But what are you gonna do?
what are you gonna do? Yeah, you put this card in your deck, and you don't want to draw it.
Well, that is the point. You
I know,
don't want
yeah.
to draw it, but it's gonna happen, right?
I've seen like articles that advocate playing more than 60 cards in decks like this, because then you're less likely to draw
Yeah, the
your
percentages. Yeah.
your Living End, as opposed to the Cascade cards. Like, let's say you extend the mana base to cover 4 colors,
Mm-hmm.
and you slam in like Ardent Plea or some other way to
Some
Cascade.
other enabler. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I think that's the only other 3-drop Cascader modern legal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If Shardless Agent was in this format,
that would be very good. Oh,
That-
do a remand.
it would be way too good, actually.
Ooh, and Geo has a Pyromancer. I think that's great. So
Yeah, it puts a clock.
yeah, I think the plan here is to keep the Pyromancer, put it on play on turn 2,
Mhm.
and then hold counter magic up for the rest of the game.
Yeah, see that's. Oh wow, he bottoms the Pyromancer.
Really?
Yeah.
Does he have another clock in hand? I don't think he does.
He has nothing in hand. He kept K command. I don't know if it's not a snap. He just has counter magic.
He has 2 bolts, some counter spells,
Yeah.
and a counter flux.
So this is like an extremely reactive hand from Geo, and bottoming the Pyromancer seems like I agree with you completely. I think that's a mistake.
I think you need to have the clock because how are you going to win? You can't sit here. They will plow through enough counter magic eventually.
All they're doing is drawing cards and then just casting Living End. Like there's.
I think Felipe might have drawn a second Living End. This could be very
wow.
bad. So I don't know. Does he have? Let me check real quick on his deck list to see how many he plays. 3.
Plays
so he's
3.
got 3 Living Ends. So 2 in hand, 1 in the deck. So he needs to make this count. He can't just try and bait out the first Living End, get it countered, and then do the second one.
Like he definitely at this point he's gonna wait for Beast Withins, right?
Yeah, well, and he's got to start suspending them. Like, that's how you have to suspend these living ends on turn, like, 4 when you can do it, because they do nothing in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Did you just bolt him to the face? I like it.
I do. I mean, it's an aggressive line, but it's like if it was backed up with a young Pyromancer, it'd be way better. He has almost nothing in hand.
He's just going
It's all
to sit
reactive
back
spells.
on these counter spells, I guess.
And 2 lightning bolts. Like, that's not nearly enough.
Like I said before, I don't think you can be afraid to tap out on turn 2 on the play. Like even if they have a Spirit Guide and Cascade spell, it can't be that great. It just can't be that strong.
Wait, what is happening?
I think he wanted to suspend a living end, but doesn't have the double black.
It costs, yeah.
Yeah, cost 4.
I thought it cost 5.
Cost 4 to suspend with double black.
Interesting. So this is just going to be a Fulminator Mage, and it's going to get countered.
Just cast the Seaman Spirit Guide.
He already knows about it, right?
Yeah, he knows about it. Just put it in play. Be like, yeah, you bolted me to the face.
Yeah.
Take that. Take this, ape. Geo's
contemplating what to do
yeah,
with this.
his mana base is definitely vulnerable to this Fulminator Mage, but I think he's valuing his counter magic pretty high. Fulminator Mage, I think, deserves mana leak.
Yeah.
Don't want to remand that one.
I actually much prefer keeping the remand anyways.
Oh, for sure.
If he hits the living end, you just put it back in
It's a hard counter.
Felipe's hand. It's ridiculous.
Basically a hard counter. Well, there's a black source, so I think we're going to see a suspend of living end here.
Yeah.
You know, just set up for a big fight on a later turn.
Mm-hmm.
So what's cool about this, and what you can do as a living end player, is set up the suspend, and then the end step before it's going to come off suspend, you go for it with like a violent outburst.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they have a response, sure. And then you come off suspend, and you cast that again, see if they have a response to that, and then if they don't, then you cast another one on your turn.
Yeah.
You know, if you can orchestrate that kind of...
That's a really big turn. A lot of things have to go right. But yeah, the hitch in that plan, I guess we're going to talk about this, is he has 2 living ends in his hand.
Right.
So
you could put them... And it's interesting, though, because if
you think back-to-backs
well,
might
the
happen?
thing is, if you put something on suspend yourself, and it comes off suspend, you don't have the option to say no.
Mm-hmm.
So if the first living end resolves, the graveyard and battlefield will flip.
Jeez,
But then the second one...
We'll do this,
We'll do the same, and redo all the, what you just did.
So, interesting, he drew the Pyromancer after all, and now he's got...
He feels safe to playing it with 4
mana.
mana. Yeah, he's got remand.
He's got mana, and he's got a lightning bolt, so he's got